Takar's knife really be an effective weapon? Ah! Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Chamber of the Wraith. My name is Brian, and I've been playing a lot of the remastered version of Batman Arkham Asylum. And holy crap, has it been a nostalgia ride. This is probably one of my most played games on the PlayStation 3 ever. And revisiting it on the PS4, most beautiful. But what's really interesting is that there was a character that I really like, who recently got shown to be probably in Injustice 2 via the story mode trailer, and I just couldn't resist but want to talk about her. You know who she is, the Queen of Green, Poison Ivy. Now there might be some of you who are looking at me going, Poison Ivy? You mean like leave them be Poison Ivy? Well, yeah, but she was actually Dr. Pamela Lillian Isley, and made her debut in 1966 in Batman issue number 181. Her origins have been tweaked here or there to go with the times, but what's always been key is that she's always been a botanist, and has always been seduced by a Dr. Jason Woodrue, who injected her with toxins and plant things, and almost killed her a couple of times doing this, and she basically went completely nutters, and the plant experiments changed her at a genetic level, making her not quite human anymore. She's more of a plant-human hybrid, and she, as a result, is one of Batman's few actually super-powered villains, capable of controlling plants to doing whatever she wants, from ensnaring people in vines to straight up killing them with spores. It's not a good time when you tussle with Poison Ivy. She also has an immunity to toxin.
Now, you're not immune to poison like I am. And you won't last 10 minutes here in Toxic Acres without my antidote.
And her kiss can kill, immobilize, or put you under her spell, making you do whatever she wants. With this new plant persona, Poison Ivy, or her real name Pamela Lillian Isley, see where the naming convention comes in, kind of goes crazy and becomes a criminal, and this ranges from stealing money from banks, all the way to trying to destroy Gotham and eventually the world to make it safe for plants. Yeah, this chick is crazy for plants and horticulture. But what really intrigues me is not necessarily if her powers are possible, or even her origin story. It's more, what does she eat? Now, of course, everybody's gonna have your ranges from, why are you bothering about what somebody eats, to the people who are fans of Poison Ivy. Who really cares about what she eats? She's Poison Ivy. She is a walking garden who can command plants to do whatever she wants. What does she have to do with eating? Well, that's the thing. She's half plant and half human. Essentially a plant-animal hybrid. Don't you think it's kind of interesting to figure out if she eats? Or if she does eat, what does she eat? Well, in order to do that, we need to talk a little bit about how plants operate. See, plants need not just sunlight. It's a common misconception that plants just need sunlight and they're good to go. They actually need 3 key nutrients that they absorb from the ground in order to get what they need. They need phosphorus, calcium, and nitrogen. Very quickly, I want to say, I wanted to correct this part of the video, but I'm sick, I'm not sure if you could tell, and I'm not really in the mood of reshooting that segment because I make that mistake, I think 3 or 4 times in the entire video, and it's over 20 minutes long, so I'm not in the mood. As a result, I thought I'd take this time to quickly correct what I was supposed to say. Instead of calcium, I was supposed to say potassium, because potassium is part of the key 3 that you see on fertilizer bags and the like. I believe that is the one that promotes immune resistance. Calcium is still an important part of plants, but it's not as important as the big three per se. Like, it's super important, but it's not the one that you see often on fertilizer bags, hence this list that you're seeing here. I hope you enjoy the rest of the video, and at least I acknowledge that I made a mistake. I can be honest about that. These three key chemicals are critical to the plant's survival. And in places where particularly nitrogen is rare, say in boggy swamps where that shit just keeps getting sent out, what do plants do? They adapt, and they become merciless killing machines. Take the Venus flytrap, the sundew, and the bladderwort. These, among 600 other species of plant, have evolved carnivorous tendencies at least 7 different times in order to get the nutrients they need. They often eat insects because insects are small and easy to kill. But giant petroplants like this one have been known to eat frogs, birds, and rats. Eee. So it's not too crazy to think that poison ivy might be at least partially carnivorous, because she needs to get nutrients from somewhere, and if she is capable of controlling plants, she could draw them from the ground, but she would need a lot of nutrients and a lot of specific kinds of nutrients, proteins, and tissues and the like in order to maintain her body, because remember, she's still human, at least partially. So she would still have human organs, human tissues, and human ligaments and things in order to maintain. Plants don't have legs, arms, or brains, in the conventional sense at least. So what that means is she's got a lot to maintain, especially because the human brain consumes 20% of the food that we eat. This thing is hungry for food, and it's why often you get kind of cranky if you haven't eaten anything. It's your brain telling you, oh, come on, you can find something to eat. Come on! So, if photosynthesis isn't exactly enough, where's she getting the rest of her food? So before I continue, I feel it's kind of prudent to give you guys a bit of a crash course as to exactly what photosynthesis is. See, what photosynthesis is that when light hits a plant, special cells inside of it called chlorophyll, which is green, hence why most plants are green, takes the sunlight and uses that energy to break down water into its core components, hydrogen and oxygen. The oxygen is a waste product, so that gets turfed. And the hydrogen atoms combine with the carbon dioxide atoms that are also taken in from the air in order to create sugar. And sugar is what plants use for energy, like all other living organisms on the planet. But sugar isn't exactly the best thing for you to eat. Talk to anybody who's eaten too much sugar over a long period of time and have them note all of the shit that goes wrong with that. So plants need nutrition elsewhere, and they get it through those three chemicals I mentioned, through those three elements I mentioned earlier: phosphorus, calcium, and nitrogen. With sugar and these three key elements, plants can thrive. Mainly because plants are not animals. They don't have, while they do have complex tissues, they don't have stomachs per se. They don't have lungs. They don't have brains, like organ brains. They don't have those sorts of complex collections of organs. Sure, their leaves are organs, and they have reproductive organs to be sure, but again, name me a plant that has an intestinal tract. Name me a plant that has a muscular system, like a proper muscular system. And name me a plant that has eyes. These are things that animals often have that plants don't, that need maintaining through other means. When humans have to eat, there are three key things, again, that we have to look for. We need fats, carbohydrates, and protein. Protein is used to keep our muscles and organs in working order because of the building blocks of everything. Carbohydrates are chock full of energy and help us get through our day. And fats are energy storage. We use fats in order to store energy for leaner times so that we can keep things going. With all of this combined, how is Poison Ivy getting her fats, carbohydrates, and proteins if she has tissues like a human? Surely she can maintain the plant bits with photosynthesis and perhaps partial absorption of nutrition from the ground through her root system. But you're not exactly going to be able to get proteins and the like from the ground. You still need to get the fats and all of that from somewhere. So where do you get it? As you know, you can get your most of your critical things, your vitamins, your minerals, your proteins, fats, and carbohydrates from plants. Things like starches from potatoes, proteins from nuts, fats from coconuts, which is actually quite interesting, vitamins, obviously you eat your fruits and veggies, and your minerals, well, just eat mineral-rich foods. But the thing is that Poison Ivy loves plants, and I mean loves plants. She calls them her babies in the animated series.
It's all right, my darlings. I'm here now, my poor darling.
She uses plants as a weapon and cares for them and goes after people who torch down forests and chop down woods in order to make shopping malls.
This dog of a dogwood leveled enough trees to shade a small state. And weep not for this willow. She slaughtered an ancient forest to produce cardboard. Cardboard!
And in Arkham Asylum, she friggin' uses a Biolante-esque plant monster to try and kill Batman. And goes on about how plants are going to take over the world and all of that stuff. This chick loves her plants. So, aside from this weird clip I noticed where she's eating salads in Batman the Animated Series, what's going on here? Well, you'll notice that through the images of Poison Ivy that I've been showing you, there's almost two different Poison Ivies. There's the human skin, there's like the human, like, white Poison Ivy, like she's a white girl. But in some of her later depictions, particularly in Arkham Asylum, for example, and Arkham City, she is a vivid shade of green, which leads me to believe that the general trend for her mutation, outside of when she got rebooted in New 52, is when she first becomes Poison Ivy, she doesn't look all that much different. She just controls plants and wears plant-themed clothes and stuff. But later on, she starts turning green because of the chlorophyll in her body allowing her to potentially photosynthesize. So that's got her sugars covered. But you can't just live off of vitamins all the time. If you have too much of a vitamin, it can be a bad thing. In fact, Arctic explorers who ate polar bear liver died from vitamin A poisoning because these carnivores' livers are so chock full of vitamin A that at that point it becomes a toxin. At least when consumed by something that, didn't have that liver in it in the first place. So, what way is she getting all of these nutrients if she's so die-hard fanatical about plants that if she hears about somebody killing plants, she straight up turns them into trees or worse, kills them? I think she is almost an anti-vegan. She is a straight-up carnivore, which could also take inspiration from the carnivorous plants I mentioned earlier, like sundews and Venus flytraps, which, while they do get some of their nutrients from the ground and they photosynthesize, they need to eat things in order to get the nitrogen that they need in order to survive. So for Poison Ivy to get the nutrients that she needs, she wouldn't have to order the salad. She should be ordering the T-bone steak. But then, that leads to another problem. The problem with being a meat eater is your impact on the environment is going to be huge. And I do mean huge. There are reports you can just go anywhere you want and look, and you can find how much water a cow actually needs, which is a lot. You could look into like the space that a cow actually needs in order to survive. How much methane gas these cows release into the air. By the way, methane is 300 times better at trapping sunlight than carbon dioxide, which makes it even worse for the environment. And we all know how poison ivy loves the environment and her plants. So I'm not entirely convinced that she would be a meat eater either. Here's what I mean. She would definitely have to get her nutrients from somewhere, and you can always get calcium supplements and all of that jazz in order to kind of bolster things. But where's she going to get her fats and all of that from? She can't eat plants because it's against her thing, but if she eats meat, she's also running into trouble. Now, I'm not saying that she can't eat either of these. It just seems really weird that she would eat these, because this would totally go against her thing. However, you should know that there is one creature that she absolutely despises. And one creature, I think, she wouldn't mind eating. Man. Am I suggesting that poison ivy is a cannibal? Am I saying that she eats man and woman? Am I saying she orders the human steak? Does she eat Soylent Green? I'm saying that's the most likely thing that she's eating. Here's what I mean. We know how much poison ivy hates humans, particularly the humans that destroy the environment. Now, in Batman the Animated Series, what she does with them is she turns them into trees, basically, in her grove of rogues. This poison ivy, it should be noted, is still human tone. She doesn't have chlorophyll in her skin or anything, and she also eats salad. But something I do note is that in the later Arkham games, she is green, so she is obviously slipping further towards her plant side, so she wouldn't be eating plants. There are no plants on Earth that eat other plants. They parasitize other plants, but they don't straight eat them. Not in the way that a Venus flytrap consumes a fly, or a sundew traps a mosquito. It doesn't quite work like that. But in all of the depictions of poison ivy, there is one thing that they do share: a hatred for humanity. In Arkham Asylum, she wants to kill all of the humans so that plants become the dominant force on the planet. In the animated series, she targets people who go after plants, her babies, and turn them into trees. Excuse me. So where does this lead? This leads me to conclude, then, that if poison ivy needs to eat, and she wants to eat without eating plants, which would be like eating her own children, and without eating the animals that are causing the planet's destruction, she should go for humans. There are 7 billion humans on the Earth. 380 million of them live in the United States. If we're to believe that Gotham City is like New York, we're to believe that it has a similar population, somewhere in like the 8 to 10 million range. And that's a lot of people. And poison ivy doesn't necessarily have to eat a whole human every day. She just needs to eat what she needs. Poison ivy can get all of the plant-based materials that she needs, the sugars and all of that. I'm not entirely sure where she could be getting her carbohydrates, though. But I'm sure that there would be a way for her to make carbohydrates in her body, since plants can create starches, which are carbohydrates. So we'll take that out of the equation. But if she needs the proteins in order to keep her body going, and potentially the fats in order to maintain her energy reserves, she would need to get that from somewhere. Plants don't make meat. Like, they have protein, sure, but again, I doubt that poison ivy is going to be chowing down on a macadamia nut or anything like that. Fungi, maybe. That's another thing that is worth noting, is that she could be eating fungi, which, despite people thinking they're plants, they're as different fungi and plants are just as different from each other as plants are to animals. So, yeah. So fungi is another way for her to get her nutrition, but I think, personally, if she wants to have meat, she'd be going after humans. Because when she kills a human, she's not going to let that thing go to waste. She's going to use it to feed her babies. Compost. There's lots of energy in a human. And why not take a little bit for herself? Poison Ivy looks like a fairly athletic woman, so she would probably be needing about 2,000 to 2,200 calories a day in order to survive. That is very easy to get if you're chowing down on human. Like, I'm about 185 pounds, last I weighed, which I don't have a scale, so I would probably have to update the figures. But I weigh approximately 185 pounds. So there's a lot of meat to go around on me, and there's a lot of nutrition inside of meat. So chowing down on a human, not a bad option if Poison Ivy wants steaks. Now to convince Harley Quinn to have a bite of human steak. Thank you for watching this video on Poison Ivy. What do you think? Do you think Poison Ivy is a cannibal? Do you think that it's weird that she eats salads even though she's largely plant-based? Do you have another alternative as to what she could be eating? Did I get anything wrong? Leave any comments like that and more down below. Feel free to hit the like button on this video. Hit subscribe so you can check out gameplay videos, theory videos, research videos, and hopefully in the future I can actually do some comedy skits and stuff like that. Hope you enjoy, and as always, don't forget to be awesome, folks.